Today we're talking about how to know when you're ready to scale your business. I'm Michelle Coyle, and this is Queer Hustle, where we teach queer entrepreneurs how to start up and scale. Now listen, making the leap from solo entrepreneur to business owner can be just as scary as starting a business in the first place. So let's talk about how to know when you're ready to take that plunge right now. Okay, so I talk to a lot of people who are solopreneurs, and they've been solopreneurs for a long time, and they're really, really scared to scale their business beyond one person. Sometimes they never want to scale, and they say that doesn't interest me. I don't want to take that kind of risk. So I want to address that first off, because I think these people think that they're being really logical and practical and saying, well, I don't want to take on the risk of, having inventory that I can't sell, or having people on staff that I can't pay on payroll. And I totally understand why that's scary. But let me make this clear. You are taking a huge risk to stay a solopreneur, because when you stay a one-person business, what that means is that all of your income is tied to your ability to work. So if you're younger and you're healthy, that might be something that you're comfortable doing. I want you to understand that you are taking a risk. If you're getting a little bit older, like a lot of the clients that I work with that are getting in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even, we're now taking a huge, huge risk to remain a solo entrepreneur. Now, I don't want to bum you out, but this is just coming from my experience and things I've seen. If you get sick, something happens to your health, something happens to your parents, they need taken care of, something happens with your kids, and you can't work for a few months, that you're putting yourself in a position where you're not going to have any income coming in. And that is a risk that I don't want you to take longer than you have to take it. So when we talk about scaling and why, it's really about making sure you don't have to scale to 100% business, right? But it's really making sure that we have a team of 2, 3, 4, 5 people, enough people that if you have to step out for a couple of weeks or even a month to take care of something personal, your health or your family or something like that, your business is still running, you've still got income coming in, everything is okay. So I just want to just start off with saying, let's think about how to scale. It's almost always a good idea, no matter what kind of business you're in, to scale to at least a small size so that you've got a little bit of a team cushion. You've got other people that can take care of things if you can't. Okay, so how do you know you're ready to scale financially? Let's talk about the baseline here. The baseline that I want you to think about is making sure that your own personal bills are covered. So your rent, your food, your debt payments, whatever you've got, to make sure that you have a plan in place to get those covered. Now, that does not mean that your business has to be bringing in income to cover your personal expenses before you can scale. So I want to really make sure that we're making that distinction. When I say make sure they're covered, there's lots and lots of ways that you can make sure those things are covered. If you've got a partner, for instance, that's bringing in income and is happy to cover your bills for a few months while you get this going, super great. That's awesome. You're at an advantage there. If you've got family that's willing to contribute, if you're able to borrow money to make sure expenses are covered, that's all fine. I just want to make sure that your expenses are covered before you start to think about scaling the business, because otherwise, if you start putting stuff into the business, money and resources and time that you don't actually have to give, now we're into sort of a losing proposition because that's not going to be sustainable for you. So I want to make sure this is sustainable for you. Your stuff needs to be covered first, but that can be covered in a myriad different ways. Does not have to be coming out of the business. Okay, after that, we need to make sure that you have a financial plan in place for scaling. This looks like a financial forecast. So whatever you want to do, we build financial forecast models for our clients. People do this lots of different ways, but what we want you to be able to see is, for the dollars that you invest, what's the return that you're going to be able to get on that investment, right? So if I hire people, what does that mean in terms of how much more, how many more clients I can take on, how much more I can sell? If I invest in inventory, what does that mean for my total profit margin down the line? What's my ROI? I want to be able to see this usually a few years out. This really, really helps calm people down, because they start to see, oh, I'm not just making these, when I make these investments in my business to grow it, I'm not just spending money, right, just to spend money. I'm actually investing money that's going to come back, is going to have a return. This is logical. So we want you to be able to see that, have that plan in place, and that's going to come in handy for what we need to do next, right? Because you do not need to have the cash on hand to be able to start to make these investments. So I would say, well, I haven't saved up enough to hire somebody. I haven't saved up enough to invest in more inventory. You don't have to. That's bootstrapping. A lot of people take a lot of pride in that. I think that's kind of stupid, sorry. But anybody that's bootstrapped their whole business, they've left a lot of money on the table. and they have lost a lot of time, because what we really want to be doing, and what all the best, most successful and biggest businesses do, is using other people's money. So that means if we have a plan in place, we can go and borrow that money from a bank. We can borrow that on our own personal recognizance, and that's why we want to have our own personal finances taken care of before we start to do this. And if it's a certain type of business, you might even be able to solicit investors to fund the business or that kind of thing. So I want you to think outside the box and don't get trapped in this, I have to save up this money before I can afford to hire somebody or invest in my businesses anyway. You don't. You just have to have a plan and be able to show other people with more money than you that you have this plan and that you're going to get a return, and that in turn, that investing with you, they're going to get a return. And that's the same thing for banks and lenders, by the way. They're investing with you. They're going to get a return because you're going to pay them interest for the money that you borrowed. So I know this is all kind of daunting in a tough economy, but I want to point something out. Yes, it is harder to borrow money right now when the economy is tough. Lenders are tightening down. That's true. But if you've taken care of your personal finances and your credit is good, you're going to be okay. You're going to be able to figure that out. And this is really the best time to invest in scaling a business, because the assets that you need to acquire to do that are cheap. And that's all across the board. I'm talking about, it's cheaper to hire good people right now. It's cheaper to get the commodities for the products if you need inventory or stuff like that. Almost anything right now. Businesses are hurting. They're going to make you a deal. It's cheaper. This is how a lot of people make a lot of money in recessions and down economic times. If you can keep a cool head, you can be rational about it, put one foot in front of the other, and really get that plan in place and say, oh, if I can actually find the resources right now, it might be harder to find the resources to invest, but if I can find the resources to invest in my business right now, I'm really going to be able to get an even bigger return on my investment. So this is a great time to be investing in scaling your business. So the short answer of when do you scale your business? Right now is when I want you to start planning to do that. You don't have to start executing on that plan today until these other things are in place, but I want you to at least be thinking about it, get that financial forecast in place, start to get your personal ducks in a row, because I don't want you taking the risk of being a solopreneur any longer than you have to take it. Let's get that plan in place and get you scaling. All right, that's it for today. Look, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel right here, coming at you with free business tips every week, plus awesome interviews with other queer entrepreneurs so that you got role models. You can see how real people are really doing this. And as always, if you want to hear about anything or talk about anything specific, or you've got feedback, drop us a comment right here below. We always want to hear from you. We want to engage, and we want to talk about whatever you want to hear about, whatever you need help with. We're totally here to help you. Listen, I've got something free for you today. If you look in the description below in the comments, check it out. I've got a free guide for queer entrepreneurs about how to thrive in an economy like this. I'd love you to check it out. Well, let me know what you think. All right, I think that's it for now. I know you can do this. Go let it shine. We'll talk to you next time.